today we are diving into an epic showdown that's been on everyone's mind. Ghost of Tsushima versus Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, I've had an incredible privilege of playing Assassin's Creed Shadows very early. Did you see I changed my voice? So yeah, I've spent a significant amount of time exploring this world and I could absolutely review it. But that's not this video is about. Or is it? Here we are doing something far more exciting. Yeah, you heard me right. Exciting. Comparing a game set in feudal Japan. Of course, I'm talking about Ghost of Tsushima with Assassin's Creed Shadows. I don't know how many times I have to say their names. Two unique experiences, but rooted in the same rich cultural backdrop. Many people claim that Ghost of Tsushima is the ultimate art form, a masterpiece of storytelling and beauty, and honestly, I agree, it's breathtaking. But then there's the other side of the argument. Some say AC Shadows is just a copycat, nowhere near the level of Ghost of Tsushima. And for those types of people, I just say, shut up. I'm going to make content on this video, so don't talk about that. Assassin's Creed Shadows is more than just Ghost of Tsushima. And Ghost of Tsushima is more than Assassin's Creed Shadows. Did you get it? You don't, of course, because I didn't too. So yeah, they share a same Japanese setting, which might make them seem similar at the first glance. But once you dive in, they're completely different beasts. I stripped every character down. No, not Naoi. She is really beautiful, by the way. Far better than Sakai's girlfriend. Having played Shadows extensively, I have got a lot to say about it. And to prove them wrong, I have put a direct comparison, where we'll be breaking down both games side by side. And by the end of this video, if you're wondering which game comes out on the top, I'll have a one-line answer for you at the conclusion. But first, let's get into the details and see how these two titans stack up against each other. So buckle up and let's start! Hey, but before starting off this video, I would like to show you Jin's clean ass. Look very closely. And now that I have your attention, let's actually start. So first of all, let's start with the main character, because they are the primary focus of our games. Let's compare the body details. And to do that, let's undress our character. Yeah, let's analyze Jin's clean ass textures. Oh my. And for Shadows, I'm not going to undress Naoi. She is just mine, so I'll just undress her alone. Okay, so Yasuke, you remove your armor, please. In both games, the characters are very highly detailed. The body hairs on the chest, legs, light reflecting through the skin, it's all there. But also the difference is visible. Yasuke's character texture is far more complex than Jin's. The spots on his body, the details on his hands, facial hair and body hair seem far more well textured and realistic. Even the head hair and the hair simulation seem better in Assassin's Creed. I don't know if you can see it or not, but Naoi has fair skin, and we can even see those green and blue blood vessels visible on her body. Wow, I'm actually surprised by how well detailed this game is. This huge difference is there because AC Shadows is released in 2025 with the next gen Anvil engine. On the other hand, Ghost of Tsushima is a 2020 game made on in-house Sucker Punch engine. So the difference has to be there, right? Of course, Shadows came 5 years later. Now, if we compare both the armor and the clothes, I'm surprised to see how well the rain reacts to the armor in Ghost of Tsushima. It looks realistic and the armor looks very wet. It's just my personal preference, but this fully upgraded Ghost armor looks insane. In AC Shadows, the rain and armor looks okay, but it's not as good as Ghost of Tsushima, of course. Both games did a really great job with face details. In both the games, the facial textures looks the same if we compare Naoi and Jin. But I don't know, Yasuke just looks more detailed. I don't know if there's a flaw in Naoi's design or it's just me. But Yasuke's face seems more well detailed. Maybe it's because of the complexity of Yasuke's face. I'm talking about the facial hairs, the scars and all that, of course. Now let's compare the running animation, walk, crouch and jump. In AC Shadows, I'm going to use Naoi as an example because her animation is just sick. Both games really have a great running animations. Naoi is a stealth character and can run fast. She's more agile and can slide. Jin can do the same. Both have a really good animations. But the one thing is Jin can normally jump and land. But in Shadows, Naoi has two jump animations. One is roll and the other one is long jump. The second animation looks really cool, to be honest. So comment down which one you prefer from both. Next is fighting animation. Remember remember, fighting animation and combat are two different things. In this section, we are not talking about combat. We'll talk about that later. Yasuke fights more like a samurai, similar to Jin, so I'll take him as an example. But look at Naoi's animation. Good. This is really good. She can perform two types of attacks, light and heavy. But you can combine heavy and light with a hold attack, which performs a different animation. Combining all this makes the animation looks really sick, both for Naoi and Yasuke. In Ghost of Tsushima, Jin's animation looks simple compared to Naoi, as he doesn't use only a katana, but there is depth in his animation. Professional katana users have reacted to Jin's animation, and they were blown away by how accurate it was. And I agree. If we look at them side by side, we can clearly see that Yasuke is just fighting, swinging his sword and all, but Jin is fighting like an actual classy samurai. His footwork, his arm, his swings, everything is not just fighting animation, it's perfection. The next point is cloth animation, or how they react with wind and movement. Well, from a visual point of view, Jin's cape looks just heroic and so good with the wind. But on the other hand, if you look closely, AC Shadows did a really good job with the cloth simulation. Like, I was literally amazed to see how well it was working with the combat and with the parkour, and it was actually more detailed compared to Ghost of Tsushima. Again, this is because of the ear gap. AC Shadows is meant to be played on next-gen consoles, but I will praise Ghost of Tsushima for its cloth simulation too. Now let's head to the environment destruction. No, I'm not talking about destroying cities or castles. We'll talk about how we can destroy environmental objects and how accurate it is. Both of the games have environment destruction. You can't cut everything in your way, but you can destroy random objects. In Ghost of Tsushima, you can destroy house doors, some banners, etc. In Shadows, you can't destroy everything either, but you can destroy most of them. The coolest thing is that the sword cuts actually through cloth and grass, and cutting grass in this game is really satisfying. Now let's compare the environment. In this section, we'll directly compare grass textures, mud textures, and the overall environmental look, including rain of course. If you look closely, very closely, it's obvious that Shadows has better grass and mud quality. Sometimes it looks really good. For example, in the rain, the wet muds looks really good. But if we look at Ghost of Tsushima's environment, grass and mud in different lighting looks more dense and has better overall physics. By the looks of it, Ghost of Tsushima takes the lead here. But on paper, AC Shadows has better textures, though it couldn't really execute it properly. Now let's take wind for example. AC Shadows winds are really dynamic. It blows grass, dust, trees, and overall feels really great. And Ghost of Tsushima winds are simple, only show wind and fast wind, but by the looks of it, Ghost of Tsushima looks far better compared to Shadows. Let's take another example, wet mud. In Ghost of Tsushima, wet mud is pre-placed and rain doesn't wet the ground for a long time. But in Shadows, if you look closely, wet mud looks way better than in Ghost of Tsushima. And in AC Shadows, the rain system is more dynamic. Like after the rain, the environment doesn't just look wet, it's actually wet. Water drops from the roof, the sound effects of the water draining, and wet mud are all there. Overall, side by side, both games looks really great. AC Shadows looks really realistic and really great. On the other hand, Ghost of Tsushima doesn't look realistic at all. It looks like a freaking piece of art. Ghost of Tsushima doesn't even try to look realistic. Another thing I wanted to compare is blood and some common detail. For example, blood. You can see the clear difference between how blood actually works in both games. AC Shadows blood splashes are good, but comparing it side by side with Ghost of Tsushima, you can clearly see the difference. Yes, it's like the day and night. If I defeated someone and sheathed my weapon in both games, you can see that Ghost of Tsushima just makes an example of how good it is. In AC Shadows, not a single drop of blood comes out of the sword when Naoi swings to clean it. And one interesting detail is that in Ghost of Tsushima, you can actually put an add-on to get more blood, which makes it even more brutal. Now let's quickly talk about the horses. In both games, horses looks really similar. Shadows horses seems more detailed upon closer inspection, like the horseshoes, the overall shine on them, but I'm again amazed to see how Ghost of Tsushima's horse looks great too. Just look at my handsome Kage. Dude, are you thirsty? We can even see his tongue from inside. Wow, Kage. My bond with my Kage is unmatchable. Only Kage, Adia to horse. I named him Dutch, by the way. And Roach hold a special place in my heart. Next point is pushing NPCs. In Ghost of Tsushima, NPCs don't get pushed away no matter how hard you try to run into them. But in Shadows, they do react. Though not like the older AC games, this is still a downgrade. Remember, in old AC games where you actually fell if you actually bumped into the NPC. What a time that was. Really great, of course. But before we move out to our next point, I would like to show you guys Jin's clean ass again. Look at it. Just look at it. Let's compare our last visual point, which is smoke and fire effects. Smoke in AC Shadows is simple, no funny stuff. Simple and realistic. The smoke should have been more dense, like in CS2, but it's fine. Now let's see how smoke works in Ghost of Tsushima. Again, this is art. This is definitely not realistic, but as a game, this feels so satisfying. The smoke is more dense, it spreads sounds like actual smoke. You can clearly see the difference. I would add one more thing to this, which is throwing knives. In this aspect, AC Shadows did a way better job than Ghost of Tsushima. So in Ghost of Tsushima, when you throw a knife at a stone or a wood, it just disappears with a wood or stone clashing sound effect. It's perfectly fine in my opinion, but Shadows did a great job with the attention to detail. If you throw a knife at wood, it actually gets stuck there and you can recollect it. But if you throw it at a hard surface like stone, it actually breaks. Observe closely. This level of detailing gives a premium experience. Comparing the gameplay aspect of the game is kinda tricky, but if we compare side by side and observe the depth of stealth, the AI of Ghost of Tsushima is better. However, the approach and stealth depth in AC Shadows make you feel like an actual assassin. Naoi is not a physically powerful character, so there are consequences if you get detected. But the enemy AI doesn't work like it should. It's actually bad. In Shadows, you can stick to the roof, blow out candles, break lights, which lowers enemies' detection. These things are cool, right? And there's another thing. In AC Shadows, there are also sound traps that makes noise if you step on them, which alerts enemies. It's also a great addition to the gameplay. Combat in both games is fun. Combat with Naoi looks fun, but it's actually boring. It's all about mashing buttons. Yasuke, on the other hand, has fun combat. His abilities are fun and brutal, but there's no need for a side-by-side comparison. Ghost of Tsushima's combat is way ahead of any AC game coming in the next 100 years. The feel of combat in Ghost of Tsushima is so satisfying. The parry, the attack, the moves, boss battles. It's not about mashing buttons, it's more than that. In Ghost of Tsushima's DLC, the combat went even deeper. You have to observe the enemy's attack patterns, which is really missing in AC Shadows. So yeah, it's obvious that Ghost of Tsushima's combat is just far better and there's no comparison. Now, to give you an answer in conclusion, as I promised at the start of this video, if I have to compare overall which game is better, then I'll just give a one-line answer. Ghost of Tsushima is a better game overall. It's actually far better than AC Shadows. The cutscenes, the combat, the story, the side activities like quests, the writing, the dialogues, all these things made Ghost of Tsushima a better game. On the other hand, the world's beauty is subjective. Some might like Shadows' look, some might like Ghost of Tsushima's look. But the above mentioned things are just better than AC Shadows. No argument to that. However, there are some things that AC Shadows did better, as it's made in the newer engine, like grass, destruction, attention to detail, characters, textures, etc. But comparing all these things isn't fair. The fair comparison should be Ghost of Yotai versus Assassin's Creed Shadows. And I think you know which will win that too. But at the end of the day, it's not about winning or losing. A game should be experienced with joy. AC Shadows is a game where you can just put a song in the background and play mindlessly. It's new, refreshing, and a beautiful game. And that's the beauty of it. Ghost of Tsushima is just like a fine book. You have to feel it in order to enjoy it. It's crafted not just to perform, it's crafted to impress. Well, all these words are really heavy. All I want is for you to watch Jin's clean ass again. Okay, don't just go like that. Sorry. Well, if you enjoyed it, you know what to do, right? I'll see you in the next one. Until then, good luck.